In this video, I'll show you how I was able to film those creative, unusual shots all by myself, and I'll share with you the 3 simple tricks that I used to keep you watching. The first rule is use what you have. Use whatever gear, location, and resources you already have at your disposal. The cabin was free. I had already paid for the rental car several weeks before I had even planned to film the video, and I just used the gear that I already have. The limitations I just mentioned didn't make it any easier to film myself through the windshield as I was driving the car, but that's what made it interesting. I took a big risk because the suction cup was made for action cameras, not for a big setup like this. I had this idea of attaching the friction arms from SmallRig on my camera and the other ends on the suction cup, making the whole rig more sturdy and preventing it from shaking. I remember saying to my wife, either this is gonna end up being the most expensive shot I've ever done, or it's gonna be the coolest shot I've ever done. That idea turned out to work out really well. The whole idea of the shot of me opening the trunk was to give a hint to the viewer what's going on, but let the viewer do the interpretation by not revealing too much too soon. This is my opinion, but I believe that our brains are wired in a way that we want an explanation to something that we don't fully know. So this is a great way to make the viewer want to watch the whole video to find out what's happening. The second rule is to use unconventional and creative shots to keep the viewer interested. The idea was to create this object's point of view, which looks very interesting because it's a shot that the audience probably weren't expecting, and it creates this emotion of anticipation. And it's also used a lot in TV series like Breaking Bad and many Hollywood movies. I also wanted some simple camera movement, so I used the Moses Slipod Pro slider to get this left to right camera movement with the grass in the foreground to accentuate the camera movement, meaning that the closer the foreground is to the camera, the bigger the movement will look. So it turned out that these friction arms from SmallRig are actually one of the most versatile and useful gear that I have. Some things you can't predict beforehand. There was no way I was going to be able to get a sturdy shot of myself with a tripod on the boat of me in the middle of the lake. So the only solution was to mount the camera on the boat, and the whole shot was actually one long take with the camera mounted on the boat. My third rule is something that I learned from my friend Alex Alleman, which is something that will dramatically improve your video and keep the viewer watching longer. And it's hold the answer. I gave little hints about what might be happening sprinkled throughout the video, but I held the answer to the very last shot. In the final shot, I reveal that it was actually the fishing rod that was missing from the boat because the main character had forgotten it at the pier. If you want to get even better at filming yourself, I highly recommend watching this video somewhere here.